Ugh, heartbreak. It is just the worst, isn't it? It can leave you feeling completely lost, just replaying every single moment, wondering where things went wrong. But what if I told you that the clues to the end were actually there right from the very beginning? In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on those hidden deal breakers that so often lead to heartbreak, so you can finally get some clarity and start moving forward with real confidence.
You know that feeling, right? You think everything is going perfectly. You're laughing, you're making plans for the future, you feel this incredible deep connection. And then, bam! Out of absolutely nowhere, it's over. The shock of it all can feel like emotional whiplash, and it leaves you questioning everything. Not just the relationship, but your own judgment too.
And here's the wild part, and maybe it's a little tough to hear, but so often the end is literally written in the beginning. It's almost never one big dramatic event that shatters a relationship. Nope. More often, it's those tiny hairline fractures in the foundation, those fundamental mismatches that were there from day one that eventually cause the whole thing to just crumble.
All right, so let's dig in. We're going to start with the deepest level, the very foundation of who we are, our core beliefs. Now, this isn't just about what we think. It's about how we see the entire world. It's our fundamental truths, the personal philosophies that guide every single decision we make. And these are the invisible fault lines that can cause the biggest emotional earthquakes in a relationship. Okay, check out this perfect example. So one person mentions they're kind of into zodiac signs, and their potential partner's immediate reaction is just a total shutdown. I don't believe in that stuff. Now listen, this isn't really about whether astrology is real or not. It's about a fundamental clash in how they see the world. One person is open to the mystical, the interpretive, while the other needs a totally different kind of proof. Now, on the flip side, you've got this perspective on faith. Here, a woman describes her relationship with God as something deeply personal, something she defines for herself. It's not about rigid rules or doctrine, but a fluid, individual connection. See, this isn't a rejection of belief, it's a personalization of it, which is its own kind of deeply held core belief system.
And this is where you can really see the collision happening. You've got one person whose truth is found through personal feeling and interpretation, and another who might need cold, hard evidence to believe anything. And look, neither person is wrong here. But when these two worldviews meet without some kind of bridge of respect, it creates this fundamental gap. It's like they're speaking two totally different languages of what's true.
And that's the big question, right? Can a relationship actually survive when your core truths just don't line up? It's not about believing the exact same things, not at all. The real test is whether you can genuinely respect and make space for your partner's worldview. Because without that mutual respect, you're building a relationship on really shaky ground from the very first day.
Okay, so we've talked about the big, deep, abstract stuff. But now, let's get down to earth and talk about the very real, practical hurdles of just everyday life. This is all about lifestyle and logistics. This is where the rubber really meets the road, where careers, schedules, and just plain reality can either pull you together or tear you apart. And you see these kinds of mismatches pop up constantly. Think about the crazy demands of someone who's famous, or that entrepreneur who straight up says, "My business comes first." And then you've got the more subtle stuff, like little judgments about what someone does for a living, dismissing them for being a bartender. And of course, there's the huge, unavoidable challenge of physical distance.
This quote? Wow, it just says it all. In a conversation about making a long-distance relationship work, one person immediately sets this expectation of total imbalance. He's running a business, so naturally she'll have to do most of the traveling. That's not a conversation starter, it's a declaration of his priorities, and it reveals a massive potential deal breaker right out of the gate.
And when you actually look at it like this, you can see how it all just piles up. Demanding careers and clashing schedules, that's a huge amount of stress. Then you add long distance on top of it. I mean, if your day-to-day lives literally don't have room for each other, love is going to have a really hard time finding the oxygen it needs to breathe.
Okay, so you've somehow navigated the worlds of core beliefs and tricky logistics. And that brings us to maybe the biggest one of all, expectations. This is the big one, folks. It's all about those unstated assumptions we all carry around about what a relationship is supposed to look like and, where this thing is actually going.
Sometimes it all comes down to a single word. One participant uses the term helpmate. Now, this word often comes from a more traditional or biblical context, and it suggests a wife's role is really defined by her husband's mission. She's a supporter and assistant. For some people, that dynamic is beautiful, but if the other person is picturing a partnership of equals, well, that's a major point of conflict.
And then you get the completely opposite idea, the partner. This isn't about hierarchy at all. It's about balance, about reciprocity. It's a team, right? Where I'm weak, you're strong, and vice versa. These two words, helpmate and partner, they represent two completely different visions for a life together. One is about supporting a vision, and the other is about building one together.
Oh, and timelines. This is such a huge one. In one conversation, a guy suggests a 1 to 2 year timeline for getting married, and it just causes instant confusion. To him, it feels totally natural, but to her, it sounds incredibly rushed, almost like a business deal instead of a love story. It just goes to show how fast two people can be on completely different clocks, which can short-circuit the whole relationship.
So I gotta ask you to take a second and think about your own past. How many times did a breakup happen because when you were really truly honest with yourself, you realized you and your partner were running in two completely different directions, wanting two completely different futures? So after hearing about all these potential conflicts, you might be feeling a little overwhelmed. I get it. But here's where we flip the script. We have to stop seeing these deal breakers as failures. We need to start seeing them for what they really are: signposts. They are literally guides pointing you toward what you truly need and deserve in a relationship.
Because here's the thing. The whole goal of dating is not to find some perfect person. That person doesn't exist. The goal is to find an aligned person. It has nothing to do with perfection. It has everything to do with compatibility on the deepest levels of your beliefs, your lifestyle, and your dreams for the future.
So let's just boil it down. Here are your 3 essential checkpoints that we've covered. First, core beliefs. Is there real mutual respect for how you each see the world? Second, lifestyle and logistics. Can your daily lives actually merge without one person having to make all the sacrifices? And third, relationship expectations. Are you truly on the same page about the kind of future you want to build?
And that's the whole point, right? This puts the power right back in your hands. The secret to navigating the dating world and protecting your heart isn't about trying to change other people. It's about getting radically, unapologetically clear on what your own non-negotiables are before you even get started. The clarity you're looking for, it's already inside you.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this one last question to carry with you. Looking at all these checkpoints, what is one non-negotiable in your beliefs, your lifestyle, or your expectations that you absolutely need to honor for yourself from this day forward? Answering that question honestly and bravely, that's where your healing starts. That's your path to a healthier love.